your time is like not wasted because grown adults have other things to do with folks don't show up.
No, I'm totally fine. How do I share it, the live feed, to other places? What do we totally do?
So I will send you the live feed link right now.
Okay.
Uh,
In this chat or in
Yep.
Facebook chat?
I can do both if you want. There's
You
this.
just do this one, make it easy. Whatever's easy, whatever is you're on right now.
It's the live feed. Then I will put that in the website. How's everything where you are?
Like personally, I am fine. The world is crazy, which makes me a little nuts, and like people around me crazy. But like personally, I'm okay. And we had cases this week up in the building I'm in, and okay, perfect. So I need to that right. So that got like kind of like hit my nervous system a little bit, but I mean, like personally though, I'm fine. I'm very introverted anyway, so a lot of this being home, not doing stuff. So like personally I'm okay, but like the world is a little.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the world is indeed nuts. All right, so we are now recording. All right, so intimate partner violence, the speak out session. So the point here is for folks to be able to come and speak out about their experience and their relationship to it. And until folks come in and decide that they want to do that, I do have some poems and some thoughts on the issue. Observations that I have made. So male privilege is absolutely a thing, and men use that as an excuse to do whatever they want to whoever they want. And it's up to each of us as individual men to decide to wield male privilege with discretion. And in my opinion, the problem with that is each man has a different discretionary, spending for the privilege. So not every man is like, no, rape is off the table. Not every man is like, no, violence is off the table. Not every man is like, no, psychological abuse is off the table. And so what this means is we see a lot of dudes walking around, we see every man walking around with male privilege, watching other guys wield it, not necessarily questioning whether or not they're using it or the way that we are using it is appropriate for the community or the world that we want to be living in. Which is why it's absolutely essential for men to call out other men for inappropriate uses of privilege. Best case scenario, the idea of privilege goes away altogether, and we all find ourselves in a state of equity. So that's like my first speak out. Like that's part of my soapbox about intimate partner violence in the communities that we live in the world. It's definitely a global issue because it is built on male privilege and there are men everywhere.
I agree with that. And I think that, it starts very young with the whole boys will be boys thing and what we take and what we look at and how we look at it. And I think that we can build a gentler
Oh no, we froze. I think you froze, Rebecca. The last thing I heard you say was gentler. But yeah, boys will be boys. That is a phrase that has been used to uphold the poor behavior of men while also invalidating the implications that it has on women. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Rebecca. So there is a poem that I found. It's copyrighted by someone named Adri. It was published February 2008. And it's on this website called familyfriendpoems.com. And it's specifically about domestic violence. And the poem goes, he pulls my hair, he slaps my face, he kicks me on the floor. I love him so much, so I don't have the strength to walk right out the door. There's blood on my face, everything hurts, and all I do is cry. I made him mad, so this is what he does. I wish I knew his reason why. My heart won't let me leave him, and it hurts too much to try. I wonder if this is how my life will be from now until I die. He says he's sorry, he takes me in his arms, he even starts to cry. I tell him I forgive him, and that everything is fine. For now, at least, because I know it will happen again in time. Yeah. Heard, Audrey. We hear you.
Yeah. And you know, I think the other thing too is that we're all trained, men, women, everybody are trained to sort of accept this. So we don't even really see it sometimes. And I think for me personally, the hidden bigger danger is the mental abuse, because gaslighting is real.
Mm-hmm.
And really up until recently, most people didn't even know what that means or how that really affected people. And bruises you can see and you hide, and you it's still very deep. It's all very painful and real, but there's another layer to that. You don't know that it's happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thing, and that we've all been trained to accept it, even including from male bosses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've watched men operate in the corporate world, or you know, and that whole thing, you know. And I a long time ago I said to one of my friends, I'm going to live life like a white guy. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to tell people, like, no, you cannot get in front of me at the grocery store. No, this is where I'm standing. And if I'm here in the aisle, no, I'm not moving. The words excuse me are real, and I'm standing here. And she was so put off, and like, I will stand in front of a car and look at them like, are you going to hit me? Because as I watched in society around me that this was happening, and I was like, how come y'all get to do it? Wait a minute. Can I do this? And really, it's just that, like you were talking about changing your mentality earlier, that when you flip that switch and say, wait a minute, I'm a human and I deserve this. I'm not being rude. I'm not yelling at you, but I'm saying, no, I've been waiting in the store just as long as you have. You can wait a minute. Plan your time better.
Word. I'm not about to be inconvenienced because you couldn't figure out how long it took for you to get a single pack of butter and some milk. Get it out of here.
Exactly. You know, and it's very interesting to watch watch people's reactions, especially, you know, I'm very tiny. I'm only 5'2", and people are like, who is this? Who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
I'm me, and I'm here, and I'm going to take the space. And I tell that to, you know, girls that I teach, take the space, take it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be mean or bitchy or cruel, but you can take the space and honor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And add tax.
Mm-hmm. So I have a thought about the whole being bitchy thing, and let me know what you think, because I've been like mulling around this. And I think that if the goal is to dismantle the patriarchy, then every woman has to become a man's definition of a bitch.
100%.
Especially because that word is used to denigrate and remove value. Like automatically, we stop referring to a woman as a human being when we use that word, one. And two, in order to do that whole liberation thing, it's okay, fine. The only reason you're calling me a bitch is because I'm not doing what you want me to do, how you want me to do it in the time frame that you want me to do it. The only reason I'm a bitch is because I'm exercising my full agency. And so I really think brick by boring brick, pull them all out with bitchiness.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I say you don't have to be a bitch, I mean it in like that you don't have to have the cruel intention piece to it. But yes, when people, language is very important. And when people do, and they look at me and they're like, oh, you're such a bitch. Okay. But did I get what I needed to without taking anybody else down? Then I'm doing what I need to do. I'm a survivor, not a bitch. Thank you.
Full fact. So this next poem that I found is copyrighted by someone named Paige Rogers, and it's called "You Took My Childhood Away." And I'm going to preface this by saying that this poem definitely sounds like a childhood sexual assault. I was a tiny child, so innocent and mild. You told me to play a game. Did you have no shame? You said not to tell my mother. You said not to tell my dad. You said it was our secret. And if I told, I'd make you sad. How could you do that to a child who was placed under your care? And how can you live with what you've done? The past, think about how can you bear? What gave you the right to use a child for your dirty game, for your actions? And then, do you show any shame? Will you ever feel guilty for hurting a child inside? Or will the things you've said and done, will you always hide? How can you mess up a mind of a child who trusted you? How can you live with what you've done? Is it wrong? Surely you knew. You've never said you're sorry for how I'm haunted every day, of what you did to me and how you hurt me in that way. You betrayed the trust of a little girl in your care. At you, if you saw you again in the street, I'd shout and swear. At times I feel so rotten, but I'm told it wasn't my fault. But I feel like I'm partly involved, like pepper is to salt. I was 4 years old, just out of the nappies, couldn't you see? I sit alone at night and ask, oh, why was it me? All I can do now is try to get on, but I can't ever forget. And my children under someone else's care is something I will never let. This one is copyrighted by someone named Miranda, and it was published October 2009. It's called "To the Day I Die." Till the day I die. I told no lie, but he is still free, walking and roaming the streets. What he did to me was not fair. Children's Aid Society should have been more aware. I always ask why, and I always cry. I wonder why it was me. For goodness sake, I was only 13. When he asked me to move closer, I would start to feel more grosser. For what was next? It was no test. He said it was okay, but deep down inside, you could see it in my eyes that I just wanted him to go away. Never come back. Though there was 4, it was 2 he liked most, and one just happened to be me. When my foster mom dropped us off at his house, I wanted to scream, but stayed silent as a mouse. It all started when I was watching TV. As soon as I heard him coming down the stairs, I wanted to scream, but I stayed silent as a mouse. I would start muttering and would swear. I knew I was first, and she was next. We thought the same thing. Why us? Not somebody else. What he was doing was not cool, but in the end, we were the fools. It took us a year of horror to finally open up, and when we did, nobody believed it was true. They sat there and said, "You are ignorant and you are rude." It took 3 more months to unravel and come up. It was the month of July when Children's Aid Society believed this so-called lie. But then again, he is still free, which he shouldn't be. For fear that he is near will always be there until the day I die. Now this is no lie.
There are so many levels to sexual abuse and to the trauma that it creates in a person. And I don't think we have, even now, come to a place of really understanding all of the facets that it hits on. Um, and the fact that it happens to so many people and we still don't talk about it. And we need to figure out a better way to deal with it, to talk about it, to explore it. And I think that's part of the problem. You know, you as a professional in psychology know, like, that's the last thing people want to talk about in a lot of ways, is that personal sexual experience. And then when it's damaged at such a young age and it leaves that spike in you, it's it's devastating.
It absolutely is. And it is the last thing that people want to talk about when they come see me for therapy or for some consultations. And I will say this, the thing that I'm about to say is true. It's the secrets that will keep us sick as a society and as a family and as an organization. And I would actually take that as a warning sign. Like, unless you're talking about a surprise party, secrets are pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, because it hits on so many different levels, it's not just about being violated, it's violating your trust of authority, it's violating your body, it's violating your spirit. Sex is a spiritual exchange. And whether you really love sex or you really hate sex, you that having it happen to you without your permission just, pardon my French, fucks up so much of it. And it makes it so hard to feel safe in so many environments and in so many places, from conversations to everything else. And when you want to be able to open that up and you can't, because that, again, that fear of authority, fear of safety, and it just, it keeps us, it keeps us sick, and it leads to so many things that are problems. And I think that some of it does lead to domestic violence, because you think you're not worthy, this is all that you're worth, because you were somebody's rag doll at some point. So why should anybody respect you and your body when they never have?
Right on. And that is an ongoing implication. Trauma at an early age sets the stage for that really being the foundation for which the rest of development occurs. So trauma at a young age means that your body grows up under the context of trauma, your brain and your mind and the way you think develops under the context of trauma. Your attachments to other people and the way that you form relationships are developed within the context of trauma. And one incidence of trauma is bad enough. But when it comes to intimate partner violence and sexual assault and incest within the family, these are things that go on until potentially you get out of the house, or until you get a friend who like spends the night is like, hey, like, does that always happen at your house? Or like, what is this energy about? Like, a lot of times the thing that can make this thing cyclical and go on for long times in the household is the fact that a lot of times families don't know that this isn't happening outside of the home. This isn't happening in other families. It's a secret. It's something that we do. So it's normalized within the walls. But then, you know, your family might say, don't tell anyone, keep our business out the streets, don't bring no social workers to my house, any of these things. And it becomes possible for this bad behavior that's happening in the home to be an ongoing thing, that's ongoing trauma, that's ongoing stress, that's ongoing cortisol in the body, that's ongoing high blood pressure, that's ongoing risk for other physical diseases, as well as the mental and emotional problems that arise from it.
Yeah, and I don't think that we talk about that stuff enough, and I don't think that we talk about the fact that it sets up the generational curses for the next level, because it's, again, like you said, it's not just the one act, but now you're talking about people who stuff their emotions with food. So now you're setting up your children to learn to do that, who will teach their children.
Exactly.
That's really what generational curses are. It's not, some strega in the middle of the woods somewhere putting something in a pot. Sometimes it is, but but most of the time it is a learned behavior from a generation before, teaching the next generation how to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. And sometimes it takes that strigger in the woods to help you sort out that generational curse. So surprise, surprise, folks, it's not always the witches who start the problems. It's a lot of times us who help you solve them. So get your life.
And some witches are judgmental, but really most of us are very not judgmental, because we don't conform to those thoughts and practices. We don't think about any of those things that society puts up as a norm.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't care. We just want you to live your best life, like you were saying earlier. There is no try, there's do. Go and do it. You're magical. Get it done.
And yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that will be most effective for magical people is to incorporate on a regular basis intentional magic that like addresses these parts of our lives. So magic that addresses our communication style, magic that addresses the way that we react when people tell us about ourselves. Because just because someone tells us something that we don't like doesn't mean that they are a narcissist. It doesn't mean that they have bad intentions. It could just mean that we have some stuff that we need to get together. And part of breaking those generational curses is the way that we react to learning about ourselves.
Exactly. And again, going back to the previous point about the abuse, is that you trying to break that lens, so you don't see everything through that lens and can really hear, like, okay, you know what you set up as a self-defense doesn't really work. You needed it then, but now you have other tools in your toolbox.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So that is, this is a good place to wrap up. This has been a good conversation, and I think that moving forward, I think I would like this Speak Out to be actually a panel with like other folks who are talking about like observations about the issue from their perspectives, from where they sit as professionals, from where they sit like in their homes and in their communities, because all of us do handle this issue every single day, right? Like we're both people of color. Like we understand like the intrinsic role that like abuse has played in our upbringing. And I think having us talk about that and provide a place for other people to identify and strategize and build might be a good use of this space as well. So thank you for helping me like brainstorm how this is going to look in the future too.
Thank you for letting me be part of it. It's amazing.
Absolutely. So yeah, feel free to hop in on anything else that you want to for the rest of the weekend. I'll continue to blast you and put your social media and stuff out there. I'm a huge fan, and I'm looking forward to when I can see you all again.
Yes, right? Gosh. They're breaking up the band. It's not fair.
For serious, man. Like, come on. Browntown Unite.
Seriously. Come on, everybody.
Word. All right. So have a good night. Thank you for joining. And blessed be.
Stay safe. Wear a mask. Blessed be.
Yes, ma'am.